Hi, Hari.
Hey, hi, how are you doing, Sachin?
You seem like set.
All set, all set. So we're just going to move straight into the call as soon as
Yeah,
yeah, okay. So I'm
correct. I think so. Yeah, I'm also learning on the fly.
perfect, perfect.
But I'm going to come and look you up at your lovely office sometime. in the
Oh,
future.
certainly, certainly, please do.
There's so much to learn. Let's see how much ground we cover.
Please do. You're most welcome. Have you been following any of the other sessions?
Yeah, the thing is, I was in the so-called opening session. The problem is a lot is happening in parallel, right? Even along our session.
I saw track one, track two. I think there are about 8 tracks.
Correct. So I think people will shop around, I think.
That's right. That's right.
I really wish I should have marketed our session a little more aggressively. But I think. So I don't know when we should be on now.
Now I see there's just three of us on the call, two of us in the host,
Oh, right.
the web host.
Therefore, I think he has to let us in, I think. 12:40.
Yeah, it's time now, so it could be any moment from now on.
Right. Are we both audible? Yeah, I can hear you well.
I can hear you very clearly.
Right. Perfect. Thanks.
Is it a very formal event? Should I wear a jacket? Oh,
No. I just wanted to impress you. Sorry.
I was about to turn up in a t-shirt, I must tell you.
I know. Really doesn't matter. Now I'm getting a little nervous. It's 41. Is someone already recording us? Or?
No, I don't think so. I think let's stay silent till we are asked to speak.
Yeah, sure.
Lest we say something we're not supposed to.
I love your sense of humor. The thing with these online things is suddenly they turn the tap on and 1 million people watch us say this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I think they had some glitches in the opener, some bandwidth issues. So I think they perhaps.
Tech standpoint?
Yeah, tech standpoint.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I too have bandwidth issues. I do lose connectivity, and what unfortunately, I don't know how it's near your place, but it's just about to start raining here.
Oh, really?
And when that happens, in fact, we're just taking the clothes off from drying and things like that.
Right.
When that happens, it's I lose connectivity. So if that happens, you can take over and explain whatever I've told you so far.
Right, I think so. Yeah. Right.
But that's unfortunately the only that's all we can do. Just hope for the best. I've disconnected all my devices from internet, so I preserve bandwidth.
Mr. Marar, what's happened at my end is I live a bit off MG Road, but for the purposes of the day to help the hosting team, my wife and I have checked into the hotel so I'm just sitting in a hotel room at the moment.
I see.
Yeah.
Which hotel have you moved
This
into?
is Marriott in Whitefield.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So because they wanted me to help in with this, that, the other. And I said, long distance, it's very difficult. The doorbell rings, something happens, right? And
Right.
I'll spend the day here, right? Are we? I don't know. I don't know how to remind anyone. I think he's muted it because he's talking to his family, I think.
That's right. I'm just talking to somebody
Oh,
else.
sure, I understand. I'm just a little tad worried because it's 44 now.
That's right. So do you have the number of someone?
Yeah, I think just, I have my wife helping here, so she'll just call Lakshmi up. Can you call Lakshmi? Or do you have a number?
Do you want to go down?
Will I go down? It's too much. I'm set here. No? It's Lakshmi. Can you just call her urgently? Already 4 minutes late. This is so unfortunate. But I've got a number. Should I call?
Yeah.
I have some understanding because, you know, with when you're live, then itself it's a challenge to make sure things happen on time.
Right.
And technology challenges, I can imagine there are delays. So let's hold on and see. But it's good if you can call somebody and check if there's a problem.
Currently busy. Please find the data.
This is track 2.
But
But we are still, the host hasn't let us in it. Would Sandhya know? PL, meaning session
Yeah.
3.
Join session. You should, yeah. It should be on now. You have to start talking.
We are
Yeah, Saki,
Huh?
start.
You're on.
I think so.
Where?
Start talking.
Now something is happening.
Start
Yeah.
talking.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I think somebody needs to tell us to start, right? Just
See, connecting to.
No, just start. I can see you. Just start.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, speakers.
Hi, good afternoon.
Welcome to the Women Economic Forum digital version. We are making history, the first ever digital WEF we are going to have, and a theme: reconnect, reboot, reset, re-energizing the enterprises in the new world. Okay, that's a theme. And welcome to track 2. I'll be the MC for this track. And thank you for coming for the first ever session in this track. And I am Meghalai Sendal Kumar. I am the All India Chairperson for Digital Transformation All Ladies League. And I welcome you here. And our session about to begin is Bial, an organization with a soul. And our moderator will be Sachdev Ramakrishna, co-founder Healthcare Internet Startup. And our speaker is Hari Marar, MD and CEO, Bangalore International Airport. Welcome, sir. Over to you, Mr. Sachdev. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Meghalaya, for that lovely introduction. And it's so wonderful to be here at the Women's Economic Forum. Both Mr. Marar and I are quite privileged as men to join in. So let me begin the proceedings without much delay. Mr. Marar, such a privilege to have the honor to speak with you. We're talking about Bangalore International Airport. And for many of us Bangaloreans who grew up here, the airport meant 3 conveyor belts, a few broken down taxis who wouldn't work after 7 should your flight land late, and just very limited services. And today you are part of the architecture that the team that's built a whole new shiny airport or smart city or township. Could you just fill us in a little more about what's this big estate you manage so well?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Like you rightly said, Sachdev, this is really a privilege to be at this event. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited about this. You're right. I remember those days too. I used to work in the old airport. I was station manager of Jet Airways in those days, and I have worked in that airport. Wonderful. And from those days, I think the airport has grown in leaps and bounds. If you just look at from a pure infrastructure standpoint, there is of course a new runway, 2 runways in fact, brand new terminals and things like that. So purely in terms of infrastructure, the growth has been in leaps and bounds. But what's been really magical is not the physical infrastructure growth, but actually the transformation that's happened in the way the airports are run.
Right.
So if you look at it 10 years back, I would imagine the best way to describe an airport would have been smug landlords. They would only come at the end to collect rent. And today, of course, they have, you know, airports in India and globally you would recognize them. They are naturally monopolies, right? And
Right,
monopolies
right.
are characterized by indolence, complacency, and these kind of things. And yet, airports in India and the world over have transformed themselves. They've become fertile hotbeds of innovation. There's so much of
Absolutely. Yeah.
they've been offering incredible services. And from being smug landlords, I think we have transformed ourselves into business of businesses. There's practically no business that we are not into. We are in the retail business. We are in the food and beverage business. We run hotels. We are in the fashion business. We have spas, all sorts of businesses. And
Exactly.
today, for instance, if you have to describe the airport, it cannot be described purely in aviation infrastructure terms. For instance, you can't just say it's got 4,000 meter runway and it's got
Right.
X square meters of terminal space and things like that. But there are new ways to describe the airport as well in terms of the economic impact it creates. For instance, it creates 28,000 jobs, right? Or the fact that it contributes 11,000 crores a year into the state exchequer and things.
Fantastic.
And also a few fun facts. Airports, again, cannot be counted only in terms of number of passengers that it serves. So today when I describe the airport, I say we sell 5,000 dosas a day, 10,000 a day. Our airport has got stores that sells more Lindt chocolates and Rado watches than any other store in India.
Oh, wonderful.
Two very interesting facts. The KFC at the airport, incidentally, is the highest selling KFC in the whole of Asia Pacific.
Really? Wow.
Most interestingly, last year, our subway sold most number of units globally. Number one subway in the world. Can you imagine that? I mean,
Right.
so managing all this is, while it's extremely complex, it's tremendously fun. And the way I describe it is like, it's like governing a mini city or a small district of a city. That's how I
But you really look like you are totally in charge, Mr. Marar. All those statistics you were reeling sounded like Harsha Bhogle in cricket, but it's terrific, I thought. So you really know your estate.
I
How do you
enjoy it.
manage this? What's your leadership style? Do you run by trust? Do you run by process? Because in India, it's either process or relationships. Hardly a ideal mix of both. So what's your...
There is the right thing to say, which is, of course, it's a mix. But I must say, it's not just because it sounds right, but that's genuinely what I follow. One thing that you have to recognize about airports is that they're a highly regulated entity.
Right.
It's a hyper-regulated world in airports, in fact. So at a global level, at a macro level, airports are regulated by the International Civil Aviation Organization, also known as ICAO.
Right.
It's a specialized organization under the United Nations. And that's the body that defines the regulations under which the airports must function. And then, of course, you have at India level, Director General of Civil Aviation Bureau, and multiple regulatory authorities. So in this hyper-regulated environment, without processes, you're finished, you're dead. You
Right.
have to have processes that work perfectly well. That's one part. But at the same time, from a leadership standpoint, my leadership is completely on the basis of trust. I like to believe that our people know exactly what to do. If there's one guidance I like to leave for my people, it's the fact that they must guide their behavior and their actions only based on our defined values. Our values of trust, integrity, collaboration, excellence, and caring. I mean, those are the values that matter most to us. As long as your actions are guided by those values, my point is, I give them complete trust and complete freedom in how to function.
That's wonderful to hear. There are just two other aspects, as I was doing a little bit of research in the run-up to our talk about how you employ women leaders. I think they are, to my mind, at the forefront of some of the really leading stuff that you need to manage at an airport, the airside staff, ATC, firefighting. Could you just speak a little bit about that? This is the Women's Forum, and I'm sure it'll encourage many other women leaders to maybe join your team if there are positions available.
Right. So I'm not playing to the gallery here, but I
Right.
truly believe I am a big passionate believer in empowering women and also allowing women to break, let's say, norms or established practices wherever it's possible. So, for instance, we had, aviation has always been traditionally a male bastion, and it's been very difficult for women to enter that field. And in
Right.
our case, I remember way back when we started the airport, in the very first instance in 2008, we had a lady who used to run our entire airside operations.
Wow.
That means providing guidance to aircrafts. You've seen these follow me vehicles that lead aircrafts and tell them which
Yes.
route to take. Those follow me vehicles, we had a lady driving it, and this has never been done by women before that. Most interestingly, so we have consciously provided leadership opportunities. We've got many ladies in the ATC space, which is again
Firefighters, yeah.
most important. That's the one story that I'm most proud about. When you think of the mental image of a firefighter, it's always male.
Right.
And we decided that when we wanted to hire firefighters for our second fire station that we were opening when the second runway was opening, we went out into the villages of Devanhalli and ran a campaign, and we had to actually convince mothers to let their daughters go. Tell them, this is, yeah, we actually ran that campaign. We used to sit together in chowpals, in villages, and convince women that you must let their daughters go and try this out. And today we have the largest women's firefighting force in Asia, Asia Pacific, and probably one of its kind in the world, and the only one definitely in India. We have 14 women firefighters. If you search for Daughters of India at Kempegowda International Airport, a video, it's a very touching video about how these women have broken every stereotype, every known, let's say, convention, and set up a women's firefighting force. It's an incredible story of success.
You and your management team must take a bow on that, and I'm sure the forum would feel deeply encouraged by your comments. Just one other aspect of Kempegowda Airport, I think you run it very sustainably from what I see. I think there's a lot of recycle or renewable energy that you use. I think you're water positive. Those are, I think, very, very positive signs. You usually think infrastructure bleeds the environment, right? And so,
you've started me on a topic on which I can speak for the next 40 minutes. But
right.
let me
You may have only one though, but yeah.
Try and keep it as concise as possible. So, the way we approach this, the running of the airport, is from a sense of custodianship. We never considered ourselves as owners of the airport, while of course we have put in all the investment and things like that. The airport remains a public asset and will always remain, and will always belong to the people. So what we see our ownership of this airport as temporary custodianship, which means we've been given custodianship for the next 60 years to look after this. And the key difference is ownership comes with privileges, custodianship comes with responsibility. And we take a role in this airport with a great sense of responsibility, which means that we must do everything. So achieving progress is something that we not normally achieve, but we must do it in a responsible fashion. That includes sustainability aspects. So the 4,000-acre campus consumes a hell of a lot of electricity, but 95% of that electricity comes from sustainable sources, renewable energy, 75% through solar, 20% through wind. 5% still comes from the traditional sources, but we want to keep it that way just to keep engaging with the state government. We are water positive. For the 4,000-acre campus, we are water positive. For every 1 liter of water we consume in the campus, we produce 1.37 liters of water. And we don't send anything to landfills, zero discharge to landfills from a soil management perspective. So yeah, from a sustainability standpoint, I think it's one very important agenda, and we believe that every corporate must achieve progress in this fashion.
So as you run such a tight ship, do you even relax? So how do you unwind? What do you do?
I find a lot of time to relax. By the way, I work only 5 days a week, Monday to Friday.
Really?
Saturday and Sundays, as you can make out right now, I'm at home. I spend a lot of time with family. And of course, the COVID-19 situation has meant that I get a lot of time to spend with family. So yeah, and I believe in turning off a time when I don't even look at my phone unless it's an emergency and I know when it rings. And I spend a lot of time listening to music. Music is a big passion for me. And I read a lot, both fiction and non-fiction. So between reading, movies, and music, I think the right way to spend time with, and spending a lot of time with family. I'm a big gourmet as well. So I'm also big into cooking as well as eating great food.
Thank you, Mr. Marar. I think it is time for a wrap. I can see Meghalaya in the background waving at us, but it's splendid. I think it's a brilliant start. We're off onto this great fanciful flight of dreams and everything that you help us make true as we conquer the world through your terminal. Thank you very much.
It's been a privilege.
Thank you so much, dear speakers, and for the inspiring message, Mr. Hari. We have come to the very important part of your session now, the awards. So Women's Economic Forum is very proud to award Mr. Hari Marar, Leader of the Decade Award.
Yay, let's hear it.
And I'm very privileged to announce it to you. And Mr. Sachdev Ramakrishna, Leader of the Decade Award too.
Oh, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Deeply honored.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, you will receive the award after the conference. And thank you for joining us in this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Both of us enjoyed. Goodbye, Mr. Marar.
Bye-bye.
Hello, Meghalai. Hello,
Welcome,
Shanti.
welcome, Lubina.
Hi.
Welcome, Shanti Menon. We viewers, we move on to the session 2 on track 2, and we have My Story, Work from Home. And we have Lubina Rangel as the moderator here, and she is the founder of Curvy Yogi, a yoga specialist. And we have Shanti Menon, and she's our honored speaker for this session, and she's the principal, the Dean's Academy, India. Over to you, Lubina. Please take over.
Thank you, Meghalai. Hello, Shanti. And it's such
Hi,
a
Lubina.
pleasure to have you here with the Women Economic Forum at our first ever digital summit. It is so awesome to have you with us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
So, you know, with the My Story thing, it's all about our stories and you know, stories make for an inspiring connection with people. And as an educator, you know, you bring a wealth of experience, you bring a wealth of storytelling also that touches all of us. And especially, you know, even if I have to speak as a parent, there is so much about education. That is one of the first things we have, you know, taken into account when the current crisis and the current pandemic has been on us. So, you know, education being there, right there with all the changes happening, and in the midst of all the changes, this must have had an impact on you as a professional in the industry. So, you know, let's get right into it, and I'd be wanting to know more about that.
So, well, impact is a very mild word. Everything changed when COVID hit us. So we shut down on the 9th of March. And at that time, I had no idea it's going to be a long haul. But the first reaction that I had was the students of grade, the new group of grade 10th and 12th, who had moved into their new classes, they need to have their classes going on because we can't miss a single day for them. So a quick consultation with my IT faculty, and we got cracking with Zoom, went on to online classes. The teachers quickly adapted, and classes went on well. Then our question was, what do we do with this rest of the children? So the middle school and the primary school children, and of course, the lower part of the high school. So we devised some kind of, you know, worksheets for them, which were recap based and some tasks that they could do. So it was all very exciting initially, this whole business of online classes and stuff like that. And people are working from the comfort of their homes, which is even more exciting for everybody. But soon we realized Corona was hitting us real hard. And we realized we will not be able to open school for a long, long time. So my first agenda was to actually explore a platform which would be more adaptable to, you know, the teaching learning process. And then stay safe for the children, because there was a lot of reports of, you know, cyberbullying, etc. with Zoom. So with Hearsay, I stumbled upon Microsoft Teams. And then I had to quickly replan, you know, the whole school calendar. I had to rework, how do we go about the senior school's curriculum, because it's vast. And then how do we do assessments with them? Because without assessments, we don't know what the children are really learning. How do practicals get done? So all of this required a lot of thought. And imagine everything had to be done from home. And I'm sitting here by myself inside one study, thinking through it all myself, because it's new to everybody. And nobody from my team had a clue on what the next step would have to be. So apart from this is senior school problems. What do we do with middle school and primary school? How many hours can they work? Children cannot be in front of the screen for that many hours. I mean, of course, they are in front of other gadgets, but we cannot impose that upon them. So we have to be very mindful with how we plan this out. And then what do we do with the scholastic subjects? You know, children, we have huge number of faculty for all of the scholastic subjects. So what do we do with them? How do we execute those classes for the children? Children love their dance and music and art classes. So how do we put that into place? So essentially, the whole planning that I had done, and I typically plan for an academic year 6 months in advance. All that I had planned had to be washed out, and I had to create new plans. You know, so,
I'm sure.
so that was a huge challenge, and then all of this had to be done by myself. Like I said, it was new to everybody, so everybody was looking at me for the next step naturally. So there was so much of reworking, and in fact, a lot of relearning for me. I was starting from scratch after having so many years of experience in this particular task that I do in and out for so many years. I had to start all over again. So
That is exactly what it is, right? When we have to,
Yeah.
we're constantly teaching our children to keep moving and reinventing. And, your teachers also, I see right now in the news as well, the entire focus has been on online education and how the teachers have been working on it, or everyone loves to complain. But then the stress on the teachers would have been immense, because you have teachers who are both fresh graduates as well as who come from years of a particular way of teaching. So how do you think are your teachers, how did they manage? Because I know they did. I know many teachers who have done a fantastic job, but let's hear from you as a leader. How did that work out?
My team was amazing. I think there's nothing short of admiration for the way they completely adapted to this whole situation. The first reaction of my team initially was respectful silence. There was complete silence and just waiting for me to make the plans. I really appreciate my team for that, because had I been bombarded with their ideas at that time, I wouldn't have been able to put things together. And then they got cracking. My God, once the plan was in their plates, they just got cracking. Of course, we had to do a bit of teacher training, because we are not used to online teaching. This is a very new concept, though we had experimented with it about a year back, because I had always had this thought that, why do we restrict this whole thing for teachers alone? When everybody had this work from home facility, why can't the teaching faculty also explore this? So I had explored this bit sometime about a year back, but we didn't think that's going to be our way of life. So we had to do a bit of training. Is training them into technology, because essentially teaching is hands-on. You're in the class, feeling, touching,
Yes.
reaching out to children. So this had to be changed completely, because for a teacher, that device that they were using has become a wall between them and their child. So they have to adapt to that. So first is their emotions had to be worked on, because the teacher wants to hear the child. The teacher wants to touch the child. The teacher wants to cuddle with that child. However big the child is, even a 12th standard child, still
The
lights up.
connection.
Yes.
Yes.
So we had to work on that. And then the teachers, my God, the way they started supporting each other, they did not even think of work hours. We typically have very clear work hours, and I'm very, very particular about it. I've always believed in work-life balance for us too. But this just broke through. They are working through the day and night. And when I button and I tell them that, hey, girls and boys, you cannot be working beyond 6 o'clock in the evening. Remember, there's a family. They just got off mails and they're on WhatsApp. And I wasn't even aware of it. So
Very true.
huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
In
There was
fact, I
huge-
remember, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No problem.
I want to voice also here, Shanti, that I do know of teachers who had forsaken their holidays. This was vacation time, and the teachers barely had a day's break, and the stress that comes along with it, and we cannot discount the stress of being observed with parents at home. All of
Oh,
those
yes.
things. Oh, I must commend the teachers' jobs and how they put in.
Lubina, there are instances where we know that there's a parent behind the chair and behind the computer and things like that. So to buttress the teachers' emotions in those situations,
Yes.
their anxiety. It took a bit of work, but today they're very strong about it because they realize that they're doing their best. And this is an area which is new to them. So there's only that much that they can take as criticism from somebody.
Yes.
The best part was the way they clung to each other in terms of peer support. I mean, it is amazing. One teacher posts one little problem, and there are 10 or 20 of them giving her support. There are people within her classrooms saying that, listen, I'll enter your classroom tomorrow and help you with so and so thing. Don't worry, you just take the class and things will be fine. And things were fine. They rose up to the situation. And I would think that today, after about we're nearly 2 months into online classes for everybody, including kindergarten, they are doing a phenomenal job. And now they want to go into the next step. We want to do this and we want to do that. So I would think that they have adapted beautifully.
I think it's a brilliant thing. I was just also wanting to know, any of these. Okay, there's disturbance. I cannot deny one of those. But there is the thing of adjustments that we make in our personal life as well, Shanti. So how did this affect, not the principal, but Shanti Menon?
Okay, all right. Okay, so the first thing that happened was I didn't have to wake up at 4:45 in the morning. I mean, that was a brilliant thing that happened to me. I think this is working for me. I really enjoy this working from home business. So typically I'm up at the crack of dawn because I leave home at 6:55 to 7 in the morning. I like to beat the traffic and get to school before everybody is there. So that changed for me. I had the luxury of waking up whenever I wanted to wake up because technically we are working only from 8:15 in the morning. The other thing I discovered, which is amazing, was I discovered sounds and routines that I've never known existed around me because I'm away from home from 6:55. And there I started hearing birds chirping. I see butterflies outside my house. Oh, this is so exciting. I started enjoying that. I actually step out in the mornings for a gentle walk just because I want to see what my community is like for me. So that was another big change. And of course, as a person, I'm a very house-proud person. And so this gave me a lot of time to actually do things. And for many years, the house helps have been running my house. Today, I have back to being the mistress of my house. And it's so exciting because I have time to rearrange my flower vases. I have time to rearrange my furniture, dust my little curios, all of this, which I enjoy. The other big thing is that I've started cooking, which is something that I haven't done again for ages. So the advantage is that my son is also working from home. So he acts as my sous chef and we cook up all kinds of things. We're on the net cooking out
That is
recipes.
brilliant.
So we have good times. So in all, I think this has let me discover myself a lot more. Rediscover, I wouldn't say discover, but rediscover myself. I started reading a lot more things I've started loving to do. I started learning a lot of chants, which is something I always like to do. Of course, pottering around my garden. I love to watch I've got one ash god growing on one side. I've got bhindi growing on the other side. All of this.
Oh, now you're making me think of what I'm supposed to be cooking tonight. But yes, Shanti, it's always such a joy for us to, recognize that the work that we do and everything just seamlessly flows into our personal life, and I think it's an honor and a privilege to hear from you as an educator, as a leader in the industry, to share a bit on what you have experienced as an educator as well as an individual at home, a woman, in how you experience. So thank you very much. Thank you for sharing that bit of what it is like to work from home, because for all of us it's a change and it's a difference in the way it is. So thank you for this conversation, Shanti. It's been a joy and a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Meghlai, over to you.
Thank you so much, Shanti. A big shout out to all the teachers out there, quickly change how they teach and, resort to new age methodologies. Fantastic work they're doing, big shout out to them. And we are honored. Women's Economic Forum is honored to confer upon you iconic women creating a better world for all. Shanti.
Thank you so much. My pleasure and an honor.
Have an award. You have been conferred with iconic woman creating a better world. Lovina, congratulations. Congratulations, both of you, and thank you for being in this session and inspiring the viewers, the global
Thank
viewers.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
My
Meghalaya.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Hi, Minku. And
Hi, Meghalaya. Pleasure to be here. I think we are.
we started a little bit late, so
That's okay. We have what we have to share with the world. We'll stay on and utilize the platform. It's absolutely not a problem at all.
Yes, and we move on to the next session, which is filmmaking across the globe. And we have a moderator, Minku Buttar, joy advocate, transformational facilitator, who will be the moderator. And we have Ramanjit Kaur, founder, director, the creative arts, with us as the speaker. And do we have one more speaker, Minku? Yeah.
Yes, Meghalaya, we have a fantastic award winner, Iranian filmmaker.
Yeah.
And, maybe he's having issues joining in, but that's not a problem. He can jump right in. It just means that our gorgeous Ramanjit Kaur is going to have a little bit more time. So we'll hold the fort till we wait. I'll take it up from here. Very good afternoon to the beautiful listeners on this session, listening from all over the world. Thank you, Meghalaya, for that beautiful introduction. My name is Minku Buttar, and with me I have Ramanjit Kaur from India and Hamid Sulaimanzadeh. Hi, Ramanjit. He will be joining in at some time. I hope so, because he has a lot to share of the impact of filmmaking. Ramanjit, I also want to share, this is one of the most, going to be one of the most watched, as far as I know.
Okay.
Because film is something so fascinating for the whole world. I mean, so Ramanjit, I just want to share very briefly. I know that people know you very well, but for the sake of all the viewers all over there, you're an international award-winning theatre film actor based out of Calcutta, and you are a gold medalist in Masters. Trained under the Guru Padma Shri Neelam Mansingh Chaudhary. You have performed all over the world and won many national awards like the Sangeet Natak Academy and many more. The Lardli National Award for Gender Sanitization caught my attention. Sensitization.
And I would like to rectify here, it's not the Sangeet Natak Academy, which is the main award. It is Sangeet Natak Academy Bismillah Khan Yuva Puraskar.
So I saw that.
Officially, we'll have to, just.
Those are together, so I stand corrected. And also wonderful international awards. How amazing are you? I'm very, very fascinated by your brave, controversial role in Deepa Mehta's Anatomy. And please, wherever, please jump in and correct. But from what I understand, the Heaven on Earth, The Fire, Watch the Stars for Me, The Mouth of Hell, it was sent for the BAFTA Awards. Is that right? And this is that beautiful movie where you went, and it was about the Jharkhand coal mines. We had a wonderful conversation on that. I love your mantra, Ramanjit, that live each moment to the fullest. And what I've known about you, I know that you embody every single word of that, in your exuberance. My first question to you, Ramanjit, I really welcome you. Thank you for being here in all your embodiment.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. My first question to you, and it's very unfortunate we have less time, but there is so much that you can offer to our listeners. My first question to you, your film career is mapped across a few decades. And even though you look young enough, as if you have just started your career.
Thank you. You're making my day.
What genre films have you covered, and why are those roles? Did you choose those roles in particular? I have one other question after that, which will really fascinate everyone. So I am also going to. Okay, I think we are on record already. Meghalaya, I just want to confirm that you are taking care of of the recording? Yes, okay.
Hamid just messaged me that his button isn't active. And
Okay.
someone into that.
Okay, okay. So Meghalaya, would you take that back end with our beautiful team who has not slept in a month and is holding our backs?
Right away.
Yes, thank you so much. And then so that for the benefit of all our viewers in the meantime, Ramanjit, so why did you choose this genre of films? Would you share that with our listeners?
Being a dancer from the beginning, my journey later on, very early in life, took me into the world of theater, which is an extremely fascinating world. And again, very early in 1996, I got my first chance to work in Fire, Deepa Mehta's Fire, who's a dear friend of my guru, Neelam Mansingh ji. So I've seen that, the kind of work that I get attracted towards or pulled towards is the kind of work that is handling a lot of controversial issue or issues that don't get much talked about. So Fire was the time when I was almost about to get married, and it talks about the relationship between two women, and it's a lesbian relationship that we're talking about over there. And maybe I would have loved to do a major role also if I got one, but cameo is something that I did because I was getting married in a few days' time.
Amazing. I think this is a shout out to all those men out there who absolutely fuel and fire the ambition of their wives, their sisters, their mothers. So beautiful.
Yes. I mean, later on, my father-in-law always did say that I wish I had let you, do the main role and or the major role if Deepa agreed or thought that I was. So now coming to the next one, which is Heaven on Earth, which was based on Nagamandala, written by Girish Karnad, a play that we did with Neelam Mansingh ji in 1989, I think. And Deepa had seen the play and was always fascinated by the play. So the film is based in Canada, a Canadian family, and it talks about, a kind of domestic violence, a lot of emotional domestic violence, and the issues of immigration and belonging and relationships within those four walls when you are negotiating with these issues. So that is another thing. So I had acted in a play called Nagamandala, done the lead role, and done the protagonist's role, and then I acted in the film, which the main role was done by Preeti Zinta, and I played her sister-in-law. So it was quite fascinating how it translated itself from theater to films. Then the next film that I said yes to was Mouth of Hell by Samir Mahanovic. And it was quite a journey because it is about the coal mines in Jharia, Jharkhand. And we shot for 1 week in the coal mines where the ground is burning, there's fire all over. So when you see mountains which are green and full of trees, there are these mountains which are full of coal and fire. So we were walking in those mountains, we were shooting in those mountains for 1 week, and the whole village is burnt. But what I found out, Minku, the children were so happy over there. The smiles and the laughter, and I saw that they have nothing. Their houses are burnt, they don't get food for 3 days, but they are happy. So I don't know what defines happiness, where does it come from? So that was another very important film that I worked in, which is a docu-fiction. So over here, we are talking about different genre of film that was done.
That's right, Ramanjit. And not only that, your spectrum, your genres that you work with, you even have directorial silence poetry film that you created. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I'm coming to that. But before that, I have to talk about Anatomy of Violence, which is based on the Nirbhaya case, the infamous Nirbhaya case. And Deepa Mehta wanted to work in that. So Deepa Mehta and Neelam ji, they made us do workshops for
Mhm.
10 to 15 days, and all those 200 hours were shot. So we theater actors did workshops trying to create psychology of the 6 boys who did this heinous crime, and trying to work out that why this happens, where does this violence come from. So Deepa hoped to make a script out of it and then do the film, but when she saw the footage of the workshop, she made 2.5 hours film out
That's
of that
incredible.
workshop. So that film is very interesting for any filmmaker
Mhm.
because it is a theater workshop translated into a film genre where all of us play multiple characters. So I am the mother sometimes, I'm the mother of one of the boys sometimes, or sometimes Nirbhaya herself. So it's like, or I even play a colleague
That is
to Nirbhaya. So so
quite
many.
incredible, Ramanjit. That
Yes.
is so incredible. I
True.
also, with this beautiful work, and I also want to mention what impacted me a lot about the beautiful work that you do. You do a lot of work in Calcutta. You have some very interactive kind of theater workshops coming up on the 1st and 2nd, called Ramabazi. I really want you to very briefly, because people can feel inspired. If there's someone who was looking for, like
Something
I
like
am, I reached out to you and said, I would love to learn more about
looking
directing a
forward to
film.
it. Yeah.
So for the sake of all our listeners, if we're running short of
Quickly
time,
tell
but
them.
if we
Yes.
can reach out this beautiful message of yours,
Yes.
please go ahead.
So just talking about silence, that is my first directorial film. I took the work of the famous poet Shudeep Sen. So it is the poet, his space and his words. And it talks about the absence of the beloved, the presence of the beloved during her absence. But the way it is shot is through a lot of imagery. So exploring poetry in films, the poetry genre is quite new and is being explored all over. Go ahead and explore that genre. The festival that Minku very kindly mentioned is Dramebazi International Children Theatre Festival, being presented by the Creative Arts, is season 3, and also in collaboration with Women Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It's the launch event of Arts Leadership Council. So Harbeen Arora and Beena Unni
Fabulous.
are full-fledged, and the team, we are all full-fledgedly working for the festival. It starts on Monday. There are 4 days webinars, inauguration on 31st, and the events from 7 countries on 1st and 2nd.
Thank you so much, Ramanjit. Are these details all on your website?
Yes,
The
yes.
Creative
On
Arts.
our Facebook, the Creative Arts page, the Wiki Arts Leadership Council page, all over the platform.
Thank you so much. I really wanted the whole spectrum of our listeners from all over the globe to listen to this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thanks, Minky.
of the impact that you're making. It doesn't matter whether it's Hollywood to Bollywood and everything in between.
Yeah,
I think
all
there
these
is
have
an
been
impact.
Indo-UK, Indian, Indo-Canadian, all different kind of collaborations. So
It is
that makes it
amazing.
even more interesting. Yeah.
Ramanjit, thank you so much from the bottom of my
Thank you.
heart.
Thank you.
It's a pity we've lost out on Hamid
Oh, my dear.
Soleimanzadeh, and that's why it was wonderful.
He is amazing.
We've had a wonderful collaboration, all 3 of us, Ramanjit, Hamid, and myself, and I really wanted his work to shine today. Maybe this was your forum today, Ramanjit. So we always listen to the universe, and we always, as an energy healer and a transformation, I feel catch the moment and just go with the flow, as Meghalaya would agree, and she's waiting for that wonderful honor, Ramanjit, for being here, and I am thankful, and we will carry on our association. And Meghalaya, please go ahead for the beautiful presence, Ramanjit.
Filmmaking has so much of universal appeal, and it's fascinating to listen to you. And
Absolutely.
Forum
Pleasure.
It's an honor to confer upon you the Exceptional Woman of Excellence Award, Ramanjit.
Thank you. Ramanjit, congratulations, and once again,
Thanks, Minku. Thank you so much.
Women's Economic Forum confers iconic woman creating a better world for all, Minku.
Oh, thank you. This is such a delightful,
Congratulations,
unexpected.
It was a
Minku.
surprise, but you know,
Thank you. That's a wonderful surprise. I'm aligned.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for joining in.
Ramanjit,
Thank you so much.
look forward to our associations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Meghalaya.
Meghalaya.
Thank you.
A big thanks to Women Economic Forum and Dr. Harbeen Arora for organizing all this and having us all here. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Meghalaya. Wonderful platform. I'll be back.
Yes. See you soon. See you soon.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Viewers, we move on to the next session, which is fireside chat, understanding posh and reality bites. Can you all turn on your videos, please, speakers, honorable speakers?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
speakers for fireside chat, understanding posh and reality bites, we have our moderator, Mrs. Suchitra Rao, consultant
Hi.
for child rights and child protection issues. And we have Sonal Mattu, founder director, Helping Hands. And we have Dr. P.M. Nair, IPS, chairperson, Coral, former director general of police, NDRF, former chairperson. It is honor to have you here, and over to you, Suchitra.
Thank you so much. Hi, a very good afternoon to all, and welcome to the session of the Women Economic Forum, where we will be addressing two very specific gender-based violence affecting women across globe: sexual harassment at workplace and trafficking in women and children. So on behalf of the organizers, it's my privilege and pleasure to welcome two very eminent speakers, experts in their respective fields: Dr. P.M. Nair, a retired IPS with over 40 years of experience, and Ms. Sonal Mattu, a practicing lawyer with over 25 years of experience in the area of prevention of sexual harassment. I think we'll start with Sonal. She's an alumni of the prestigious National Law School of India, University, Bangalore. Sonal supports companies pan-India as an independent ombudsperson and committee member to investigate matters. Highly dedicated and passionate on gender issues, Sonal also runs a self-funded NGO, Helping Hands, to drive legal awareness and counseling. She sits on the boards of few companies as an independent member. Sonal, we will be following the pattern of 2 questions and answers since there is a limitation of time. So we get on to the subject directly, okay? Now, we all know that protecting women from sexual harassment at workplace is a high priority across sectors. The POSH Act is a landmark legislation in providing legal safeguards against this. So in this context, I have 2 questions to you. One is, could you throw some light on what issues crop up when it comes to the practical application or implementation of the Act and are tough to address despite having legal safeguards? And second, you are a legal expert who's been sitting on many POSH committees. So what steps should women take in terms of properly documenting and reporting instances of sexual harassment? On to you.
Thank you, Suchitra. Great to be here. And, to answer your first question, there is a law in place. Of course, there's, the most famous judgment, the Vishaka judgment, and very often this law is referred to as the Vishaka guidelines.
Guidelines, yeah.
But 2013 is when we had the statutory provisions that were implemented. And I think most organizations do have on paper a policy. A lot of organizations are training, but those are ticks in the box. If you really want to make a difference, I think you need to go out and have a dialogue with everybody in the organization. Talk to them about how important it is to speak up, and what is it that you need to look out for. I think the success of making sure that your environment is free from harassment does not merely lie in having a policy or having an online e-module for training. I think the success lies in really understanding what perhaps the law doesn't say, but what you need to read between the lines.
In the lines.
So, for instance, I am aware that the provisions in law, for instance, say that you need to come with 6 copies of your complaint when you need to lodge a complaint. And it's, these are big burdens on people who are already facing sexual harassment. Right. I have known of people to turn away complaints when only 1 copy has been filed, and it's ridiculous to do that kind of an interpretation of the law. Somebody comes with one copy, facilitate the process for them, make 5 copies if necessary, but don't put the burden on a complainant who has had the courage to come and speak up.
Right.
If a committee is not well trained, and the committee is really the core of this entire piece, if a committee is not well trained, they will, for instance, continue to ask a woman for evidence. And the reality is that we don't have evidence in the majority of these cases. It could be someone looking at you inappropriately. How do you collect evidence on that? It could be an incident that takes place in a room between 2 people. You're not walking around with your phone and recording everything. So I think those are the safeguards that we need to keep in mind. But more importantly, I think that if people understand the premise of this law, this is not an intention-based law, this is an impact-based law. And I think that's the message that needs to go out. A lot of people turn around and say, oh, I was just joking, or, this is not something that I intended to do. However, the incident itself is such that's created a very negative impact on someone. So that's what people need to concentrate on, the finer nuances of the law, not what is sexual harassment and report it with 6 copies. I think those are very redundant ways to address this law. And in the interest of time, very quickly, I'll jump to your second question. Which is, what do women need to do? I think...
Yeah, the evidences that one needs to have.
Well, if you have it, wonderful. If you don't, wonderful. This is not a law that asks you to prove beyond reasonable doubt.
Right.
The law that requires the committee to look at the probability of the incident having occurred. So the test of this law is really the qualification of the committee that you put together to look into these matters. And that's the important piece. But I think a lot of women hesitate to complain. And they unfortunately complain at a time where it impacts their ratings and reviews. And then it feels like, oh, this is triggered by a appraisal rather than by an incident itself. Women go through their own set of guilt to say, if I complain, it might lead to a loss of job for this individual. And I think that's why you need to train people to say, the individual is not losing their job because you've raised a complaint. The individual might lose their job because of their own behavior. So I think the kind of training that you do, documentation is very important. Speak to somebody immediately once the incident happens. But I think the crux of it is your committee should be accessible. It should have people that you can walk up and speak to immediately, and the right people who will guide you, not say, don't complain, or do you really want to get into this mess, or, do you want to really do this? I think you've got to have a set of people who say, look, this is not acceptable. And whatever it is that you need us to help you with to make it stop, we're going to do that. So I think the success of this law is very dependent on the people who run it, rather than the policy drafted or the e-module that you have within your organization.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sonal, because what is very critical is, as you rightly said, it's not the intent, but the impact, right? And secondly, how organizations are ready, how committed they are to ensure that there is absolutely no form of abuse or harassment to any woman, whatever role she's playing within the organization, right from the head to a person who is working as, let's say, a peon or a chaprasi. It's applicable equally. And I think the most important aspect is that we encourage them to come out and say that, yes, this has happened to me, and the support that is required is provided by the organization. And as you rightly pointed out, the strength of the IC is very critical in this. Yeah, thank you so much, Sonal. Now let's move on to Dr. Nair. Dr. Nair is, as we all know, rightly called the father of the anti-human trafficking mission in India. He has served on very many, including states, on very many committees, as well as the CBI, the National Human Rights Commission, the UNODC. He is recipient of many meritorious and distinguished service medals, internationally acclaimed, as well as recognized by the UN for his expertise in the human trafficking front. Dr. Nair has spearheaded legal and policy reforms within the police systems, as well as bringing in multi-sectoral approach and cross-border cooperation for combating this most heinous crime against women and children. So Dr. Nair, we are following the 2-question pattern to you. And one is, we all know that this is the age and time of the digital online access. So how do we ensure, while we have the advantages of online support systems or digital support systems and technology, we also know that there are frauds, abuse, and violence that's happening. So your first question will be, how do we ensure women and children do not get stuck or do not get affected by this exploitation, online exploitation? Secondly, with your vast experience in the area of trafficking in women and children, what actually, specifically focusing on girls and boys, because we forget that boys also are equally subjected to abuse and sexual harassment through trafficking for various reasons, including sexual assaults or pornography. So how do we ensure? What are the reasons and what are the solution that's available? On to you, Dr. Nair.
Okay, thank you so much. 3 minutes.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful to all of you for allowing me, giving me this opportunity. First is the dangers which the children face on the digital space. Now, children's innocence is being taken for a ride in the net today, mostly confined to homes, and all of us insisting on online platforms, studies, etc., etc. Children get bored. There's no place to run around. Work at home doesn't mean anything for them. And they're wanting to talk, they're wanting to chat, wanting to share, but nothing happens. Therefore, the traffickers are also watching and they are making best use of this. What do? A lot of grooming happening on children, a lot of grooming. Most children are lured into the net in different ways, and the human predators adopted all sorts of grooming techniques. Now, one example will cite that. Recently, Indian Child Protection Fund did a study in Delhi, and they found in a matter of 2 months' time, 5 million Indians have, in 100 cities in India, 5 million Indians have gone on to net looking for child pornography.
Yes.
They use the word child porn, sexy child, and teen sex videos. Who are these 5 million people? They are right there next door. So now the elephant is in the room. The issue has come home. Therefore, it's time that we make the children aware. A lot of issues are there. Therefore, awareness to children is very important.
Right.
When you ask the child to go into the net and work there, we need to educate the child on the security of the net. Security, if it is not assured, the child can be taken for a ride and the issues can be looming large. And finally, it will be a place of no return. Once the child is groomed and taken into the world of sex trafficking and pornography, there is no return. It's very difficult to get the child back. And even if you get the child back, the child has lost its everything. The dignity has been lost. And therefore,